So Australian government has recently announced some changes to the English requirements for international students that are going to be implemented in early 2024. The purpose of these changes are to improve the overall student experience in Australia and also to reduce any possible workplace exploitations. So in this video, we will talk about all the major changes in regards to these English language requirements, and we will also talk about a major change regarding the IELTS test itself as well. And if you stick around till the end of the video, I'll give you some bonus tips in regards to your IELTS test as well. So if you want to know all this information, make sure to watch the video till the end. Now this video is sponsored by IDP Education. More on that later. So now let's dive into the topic and discuss about what are the changes that are going to be implemented in early 2024 in regards to the English language requirements. So one of the major change will be in regards to the increase in scores that you will be required in order to apply for different type of visas. The first one is in regards to student visa subclass 500. Here the current requirement is 5.5 as a minimum overall score, but it will be increased to 6.0 as a minimum overall score. The other popular visa, which is temporary graduate visa, currently if you are going to apply that, it requires 6.0 as a minimum score, but it will be increased to 6.5 as a minimum overall score, with the minimum score of 5.5 for each component of the test. If you are going to study a packaged course, which means you are studying course plus you are going to do other vocational or a degree program, currently the minimum score is 4.5, but it will be increased to 5.0, and there are no changes for students who are going to study a pathway or a foundation course. Currently the minimum overall requirements is 5.5 in IELTS score, but there won't be any changes to that. But there will be one more change for the people who are going to apply for temporary graduate visas. The government is going to reduce the test validity for temporary graduate visa applications from 3 years to 1 year. Temporary graduate visa applicants need to make sure that the English language test was taken within 1 year before application of their visa. So these were the major changes in regards to the English language requirements for international students. Currently these new changes have not been implemented yet, but as soon as we have update on that, we'll let you know about it. Now in regards to the English test, which we are speaking here specifically about IELTS test, IELTS actually stands for International English Language Testing System. It's one of the major English tests which tests the English proficiency of a person, and it tests the person's English skills based on 4 main components that are listening, writing, reading and speaking. And there are 2 types of IELTS tests that people usually take. One is a general test and other one is academic. So people who are planning to study abroad, especially in a higher education, usually need to undertake academic IELTS test. This test assesses if you are ready to study in English, and if you are just needing an English test for migration purposes, then general IELTS test is your way to go. It tests everyday English language skills in both social and work situation. Now let's talk about a major change for the IELTS test itself. While most of the test takers achieve their desired IELTS score in their first attempt, some don't. So here comes IELTS 1 Skill Retake, and some of you might be wondering, what is that? It is an opportunity to take only one component of the test rather than taking the entire test again. So let's say if you did not score the desired result in one of the components, it could be reading, writing, speaking or listening, you can just retake that component instead of taking the whole test. It obviously saves time and money, but more importantly, stress of redoing the whole test again. IELTS 1 Skill Retake is accepted by the Australian Department of Home Affairs, other government departments, major universities and skill assessment authorities in Australia. And IELTS is the only major test that allow you to take only part of the test to improve your overall scores. You can retake one skill of the test within 60 days of the original test date. Want to learn more about IELTS Skill 1 Retake? Check the link in the description box below to see if you are eligible for IELTS 1 Skill Retake. And thank you to IDP Education for sponsoring this video. So if you're going to undertake IELTS test, here are some of my personal favorite tips that helped me to achieve my desired scores when I was a student. First thing first is to understand the test format. As I mentioned earlier, there are 4 main components that they test your skills in. So it's very important to understand how this test format works. Both academic and general have some differences. So if you're going to undertake either test, make sure you understand how the format is and how it is structured when you're going to do that exam. The next thing is practice makes perfect. Now personally speaking, I went and took some coaching as well for a few weeks before undertaking the test. It's not necessary for you to undertake coaching, but it's very important for you that you practice before you undertake the test. I know some of you may have an amazing skills already, but as some of you might be aware that IELTS is not just an English test. It is also a strategic test, so it's good to plan ahead and prepare and practice. There are plenty of mock sessions you can find on the internet as well these days, so make sure to practice it before going for the test. And also work on your vocabulary and grammar. Using the same repetitive words again and again, especially in your writing and speaking test, may not get you too far. So it's a good idea to learn new words. For that, you can read magazines, newspapers, and books, dictionaries to get some new words in your armory. And very importantly, make sure to work on your grammar skills as well. Now, as you know, there are 4 different components. Here are specific tips for each of the components. First, we'll talk about speaking. My favorite tip in regards to speaking is speaking clearly is more important than speaking fast or slow. There are many arguments about whether you should speak fast or slow, but more importantly is how clearly you are speaking, because you will be judged based on how clearly you can communicate during the test. So make sure to speak clearly. In regards to the next component, which is reading, you need to learn about the skimming and scanning techniques. So idea behind these techniques is to read as fast as possible. Ideally, you can read the first line of the paragraph and the last line of the paragraph to get a better understanding of what is discussed in that paragraph itself. So you don't read word by word, but you focus on specific keywords and use the skimming and scanning techniques. When it comes to writing, it's always a good idea to spend some time to plan your writing before you actually start writing. So you're going to be given some sort of a topic, and a lot of times you have to plan on how you're going to write it. Before you put any words out there, make sure that you plan it properly, so you're not going backwards and forwards to do the whole thing again. And when it comes to listening, it's very important to pay attention to the keywords. So whatever you are listening to, make sure you're paying attention to some of the keywords that they're going to mention and utilize them for answering the questions. So these were some of my favorite tips in regards to the IELTS test. Of course, there are a million tips out there in regards to how you can tackle IELTS test better. If you have any specific techniques or ideas or any suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below. I would love to hear your techniques on tackling these tests. So these were some of the major updates in regards to the English language requirements. Now, if you want to know further about other migration changes that are going to happen in 2024, then I suggest you to check this video out where we discussed about all the major changes that are going to be implemented in 2024. It's a very important video if you're planning to study here in 2024. Click on this video and I'll see you there.